What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. No 99.9% burn mentalness in this video. We're going to talk about USTC, the incremental repeg, and some price analysis that you might want to be interested to look at towards the end of this video because it's pretty interesting when it comes to Terra Luna Classic. So we're going to break it all down in this video. And if you are still holding Luna Classic and you believe in it, then subscribe to the channel. We cover this every single day, as well as bringing you the latest and greatest in the cryptocurrency market. So the way we'll do that is by starting off looking at that global market, 1.16 trillion, 0.81% down. Now, we did see Bitcoin try and rally a little bit earlier in the day. It's currently sitting 27,515. We see Ether at 1855 and BNB holding at 330. Now, what's interesting is when we close down, Terra Luna Classic was kind of breaking into the top 70. We now see it at the 69th highest ranked cryptocurrency out there, with a slight pullback at 1091 is the price and 52.6 million in volume. Now, we do know we've got the Binance burn coming up in about about 8 days time, the point in which this video goes out. We are seeing a slight increase in volume. Unfortunately, our volume is because people are selling. That's just fact. We can't move away from it. Market cap still sits around $642 million. Now, we'll take a look at the price more importantly in just a second, but I wanted to cover off this. A red line drifter has proposed 11,487. Now, we've gone through this in full detail in a previous video, which I'll link in the description, so you can go and check it out. But this is the incremental repeg, buyback, staking, and swaps, and it is now up for voting in Terra Station. If you agree with the proposal, please vote, and we'll take a look at that, like I said, in just a minute. But the full article is here over on the Agora forum that you can take a look at. Has, like you would expect, a significant amount of traction and is being covered by most of the Terra Luna Classic YouTubers and Twitter people today because it's pretty big news. Is this realistically going to land tomorrow? Well, Redline himself has stated that the minute this passes, work will begin to try and implement this. I think there's a couple of things for me that are at the forefront of my mind. Is it going to cost? Are we going to have another proposal for some more funding to come out of the community wallet? And again, really understanding how much that's going to be and how that then pays back. But ultimately, is it going to drive either a burn increase or a price increase? And I think that has to be the big question on everyone's mind. We need one of those two things to bring volume back to the Terra Luna Classic network. At the minute, people are not coming in. We can see that by volume. We can see that by holders. We can see that just by the fact we haven't seen anything trending on Twitter for a long time when it relates to Terra Luna Classic. So for me, if we're talking USTC incremental repegs, this is about news that we need to share. This is about making sure that everybody out there knows the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem is still here. It's still building. We have, whether you like it or not, a big opportunity with the fact we have the Terra Rebels now being funded for 3 months on their upkeep of some of their kind of infrastructure. We also have the L1 team being funded for the further 3 months, and then potentially this repeg. So 3 key parts that absolutely could drive the price or the burns of Terra Luna Classic up right now. Now, I'm not going to go through the full proposal. I thought I'd just summarize it with, I guess, the conclusion, negatives and positives, so that obviously you don't have to go and read it all yourself. But I would recommend it so that you, as an investor in Terra Luna Classic, knows exactly what this is all about. Likewise, I'll leave my video in the description so you can check it out. But it says, in conclusion, I quote, "I believe the proposal outlines an approach to revitalizing our ecosystem in an equitable manner that will appeal to both USTC and LUNC holders. The divergence protocol allows us to slowly but safely recapitalize USTC with a basket stroke index of tokens and replace the manual buyback of the last system with a much stronger automatic buyback protocol. The unidirectional swaps and USTC staking stroke savings module will both serve to not only increase network traffic, but more importantly, reduce the circulating supply of both tokens. Most important of all, though, is we are taking control back of our money and building a defense mechanism which prevents the possibility of future death spirals and punish market manipulation. If successful, it will also build and strengthen our relationships with centralized exchanges. The protocol will be controlled via governance, so the fee and distribution parameters can be changed by the community if they wish in the future." And I think ultimately that's the important part. We've talked a number of times on this channel about the USTC could be the best decentralized stablecoin out there. There has to be testing. There has to be a safety net applied to stop any further death spirals or manipulation when it comes to trying to crash that. And we know that was one of the real key fundamentals of this proposal, was to how it works. And in summary, as more pressure comes on to drive the price of USTC down, ultimately a higher tax rate is therefore taken away from that fund. So if you think about it, the more someone would try and push the price down, the higher the tax from that transaction would come. Therefore, it wouldn't allow it to death spiral. Ultimately, what are the negatives? We'll start with those first. It relies heavily on centralized exchanges. There won't be a soft peg to begin with, and it'll be a lack of initial capital to defend the peg. And ultimately, there isn't sufficient liquidity at peg levels at the price or is already depegged. You need to decide to sell. Ultimately, we need to ensure those things are thought of. In terms of positive, though, we recapitulate and incrementally repeg USTC back to $1. We reduce the LUNC supply through introduction of unidirectional swaps, reduce circulating supply of USTC, funds both Oracle pool and community pool, which again is an important part, and a targeted approach so only those that are selling below peg pay the fees, which I think again is a really important part to it. So there are definitely more positives than negatives, but we obviously need to be aware of the negatives when it comes into it. But what's my view on it? I think it's a good proposal. I said this when I did my review. I think it's a positive proposal. And I do think done in the right way, USTC could have its day once again. It is, however, one of the most sensitive things when we come to Terra Luna Classic of all, the USTC repeg, and what does that fundamentally look like? Will it burn billions upon trillions of Terra Luna Classic? Yes. Will it take time? Absolutely. But I think at the same time, it is a positive sentiment. Now, that's not therefore reciprocated across currently the validators of the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem. So you can see here, currently, we've a long way to go to quorum, with 53% of the community voting no and 46.69% voting yes. It does end in 6 days. We're very early on in terms of the voting process. We'll keep you up to date with as this pans out, but we'll see what happens. We have, like I said, just agreed to fund the Terra Rebels, so I'd be surprised if this doesn't go through. I think what'll be interesting to see is how that then for lands. Now, what have we got in terms of price predictions? We all know and we all love a good price prediction. So just wanted to cover off a couple of upgrades that came in sort of middle to end of March, which is obviously supporting further build out of Terra Luna Classic. You can see these here, look, the Aiding of the Alliance module, ICA controller, token factory, IBC hooks, IBC packet forwarding, the WASM to version 3.3, and Cosmos SDKs to 0.46. Now, what does that mean in terms of price? Well, we can see it here. Turns out the relative volume of Terra Luna Classic fell below the cutoff line. Therefore, it indicates there is a low volume of traders participating in the present trend. Terra Classic's primary support resistance levels are currently sitting at 30106, 30103, and 409821 respectively. Price movements out of such ranges may portend further volatility in the days ahead. But what do they think in terms of a price prediction? Well, you can see here, the Terra Luna Classic burn programmed, which will help the tokens potentially sustain long-term price surge, will be a crucial factor in determining whether the price increases. Again, what we've just been talking about, if LUNC bulls take the lead, it could reach and surpass its resistance levels of 30493. On the other hand, if bears continue to dominate the trend, the price of LUNC may fall way down, potentially even 4072. There are real big key levels of both support and resistance. So we could see 304 if USTC repeg happens, burn happens, people stake their Luna Classic, and we see more volume return to the chain. I think ultimately that's what we all want, and ultimately this will be a benefit. I think for me, again, I see a lot of people really wondering whether they should hold on to their Terra Luna Classic. What's my view? If you think it's the right thing to hold, then hold. And if you think, actually, I'm done with this, then by all means, I would move your Terra Luna Classic and trade something else. I do believe it will come back at some point, and I do believe long-term that we'll be in good shape. I still hold my Terra Luna Classic. It's still all staked, and it's still in Terra Station Wallet. But let me know in the comments down below, are you still involved with Luna Classic, or has your ship sailed and you've moved somewhere else? And as ever, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget, like and comment on this video. It supports the algorithm, it gets the word out, and ultimately people need to be aware of Terra Luna Classic right now. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here every day. Come and hang out in our live streams, 4 PM Eastern, where we talk all things crypto, DeFi, and everything else. And as ever, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.